إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا إنه من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله وصفيه من خلقه وخليله بلغ الرسالة وأدى الأمانة ونصح الأمة وكشف الغمة وتركها على المحجة البيضاء ليلها كنهارها لا يزيغ عنها إلا هالك. أما بعد فإن أصدق الحديث كتاب الله تعالى وخير الهدي هدي محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم وشر الأمور محدثاتها وكل محدثة بدعة وكل بدعة ضلالة وما قل وكفى خير مما كثر وألهى وإنما توعدون لآت وما أنتم بمعجزين. يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون. ثم أما بعد عباد الله, to proceed the servants of Allah, the pleasure of the people and the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We have read and heard many statements from our scholars, from our teachers, or some of them, about the danger of seeking the pleasure of the people, about the evils, the dangers of seeking the pleasure of the people. And certainly, no one would argue that favoring the pleasure of the people over the pleasure of Allah is to the detriment of our faith, to the detriment of our psyche, and to our dunya as well. Not just to our faith and our psyche, but to our dunya as well. Yet the issue of not seeking the pleasure of the people, it needs to be examined. What is meant by not seeking the pleasure of the people? How evil is basically liking to be liked? And is it not natural for us to like to be liked? Everyone in this crowd, except certain sociopathic characters, but everybody in this crowd who is not particularly a sociopath likes to be liked. That's natural. To like to be liked is natural. But at the same time, we hear that your faith will not be strong enough, solid enough to really experience the taste, the sweetness of Iman, halawatul Iman, until the praise of the people and their dispraise are just completely equal in your sight, in your assessment, or your feelings. Like whether people praise you or dispraise you, it doesn't make any difference. And certainly, if this is for the sake of Allah, it should not make any difference. Like if you say the truth, regardless of the people's perception of it, regardless of people's opinion, of this truth that you spoke, then you should not really hear what the people will say. You should not. But this is not a general statement in the sense that we will always be indifferent to people liking and disliking of us. It's just not natural. It is not even what we're talking about, halawat al-iman, that in order for us to taste halawat al-iman, because some people, when they talk about this issue, this is how they present it, that you will never be able to taste the halawat al-iman until you're completely indifferent to people's opinion of you. But that's not true. And it is not even human. It's not just that you will not, even if you're a prophet, even if you're one of the best of the prophets, even if you're Ibrahim, didn't Ibrahim say, وَجْعَلْنِي لِسَانَ صِدْقٍ فِي الْآخِرِينَ, as in Surah Al-Shu'ara, and grant me an honorable mention among the latter or the latest generations, or the later generations. وَجْعَلْنِي لِسَانَ صِدْقٍ فِي الْآخِرِينَ, grant me an honorable mention. Make my mention honorable, make my memory honorable forever, until the end of times. Well, isn't that one, liking to be liked, liking to be praised or to be honored by the people, not only his contemporaries, but also the al-akhirin. So it is natural. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala recognized that it is just part of our makeup, part of our psychological makeup. To like to be liked is part of our psychological makeup, and He rewarded us by this very, reward or thawab. Part of our thawab for being good, and the greatest of the greatest of the thawab is to be liked by Allah, is to be loved by Allah. But also Allah tells us in the same hadith where He tells us that if we are good, He will love us. Allah tells us that He will make the people also love us. This hadith was reported by Bukhari and Muslim from Abi Hurairah radiallahu anhu. He reports that the Prophet ﷺ said, إن الله إذا أحب عبدا نادى جبريل فقال إني أحب فلانا فأحبب ثم ينادي جبريل في أهل السماء فيحبه جبريل ثم ينادي جبريل في أهل السماء إن الله يحب فلانا فأحبوه فيحبه أهل السماء ثم يوضع له القبول في الأرض. إن الله إذا أحب عبدا, when Allah loves a servant of His, He calls upon Jibreel. He calls Jibreel and He says to him, I love so and so, so love him. You should love him too. And Jibreel loves him, and then Jibreel calls on the people of the heavens, the dwellers of the heavens, and says that Allah loves so and so, so love him. So they love him, and then affection will be put for him on earth. Love will be put for him on earth. That's among the dwellers of the earth. He will be loved by the dwellers of the earth. There is another hadith it is reported by Ibn Hibban from Aisha radiallahu anha that corroborates this meaning. وَمَنْ أَرْضَ اللَّهَ بِسَخَطٍ مِنَ النَّاسِ رَضِيَ اللَّهُ عَنْهُ وَأَرْضَى النَّاسَ عَنْهُ. And whoever pleases Allah, even at the expense of displeasing people, Allah will be pleased with him, and He will make the people pleased with him as well. And He will make the people pleased with him as well. But this does not mean that wanting and seeking the pleasure of the people is not a dangerous pursuit. To be focused on it, to prioritize it, to favor it on your own over the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is certainly to the detriment of your faith, to the detriment of your psyche, to the detriment of your dunya. So you should never be focused on the people's perception or opinion of you. What matters the most is Allah's opinion of you, or Allah's knowledge of you. What Allah will come to know about your behavior, about your conduct, about your condition, your relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And this is because this particular pursuit of the pleasure of the people is dangerous, is evasive, but it is extremely difficult to resist. In fact, Sufyan al-Thawri said, ما رأيت الزهد في شيء أقل منه في الرئاسة. إن المرء قد يزهد في الطعام والشراب والمال واللباس فإن نوزع في الرئاسة تحامى عليها وعاد. I have not seen zuhd, or this interest, less in anything less than it is in ri'asa, the love of leadership, the love of fame, the love of celebrity, the love of acceptance, the love of liking to be liked by the people and liking to be honored by the people and so on. Love of leadership. إن المرأة قد يزهد في الطعام والشراب. Like many people are capable of showing this interest in food, drink, money. We have the ardent love of money inculcated in us. But Sufyan al-Thawri, rahimahullah, one of the best of his time, a contemporary of Imam Abu Hanifa in Kufa, and one of the best people of that time, he said, so people could show this interest in all of this, but once anyone competes with them for leadership, they become agitated and they fight for it and they make enemies because of it. So you could be zahid in food, you could be zahid in clothes, you could be zahid in money, you could have even this interest in money, you could be a very humble person and so on, and your food and your attire in your car, your house, and you may not be sort of concerned for any of this. But leadership, position, status, that is what people show the least amount of zoe in Sufyan al-Thawri's assessment. So the bottom line here is that it is natural to like to be liked. It is fine. You know, the pleasure of the people or the acceptance of the people sometimes even is to be sought. Is, you know, in order for someone to be able, in order for a preacher to preach or an imam to lead his community, he wants his community to like him. He wants his community to have affection for him and so on. Because that chemistry, if it is not present, then things will be difficult. Then the mission will be difficult. And even the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will be difficult. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala even told us that pleasing the people is part of pleasing Him. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told us, لا يشكر الله من لا يشكر الناس. لا يشكر الله من لا يشكر الناس. He does not show gratitude to Allah, he who does not show gratitude to the people. He who does not show gratefulness or gratitude to the people. So there are certain parameters that we must go by. Your pursuit of the people's pleasure is fine. Liking to be liked is fine, as long as it will not impede, negatively affect your relationship with Allah. It will not affect your relationship with the people, and it will not harm you as an individual. It should not affect your relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because keep in mind that, if any pursuit competes with your pursuit of Allah's pleasure, that pursuit is satanic, is evil, is detrimental, catastrophic. Any pursuit that competes, the slightest amount of competition, any pursuit that competes with the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will devour your iman, devour your faith. So we mentioned the hadith that is reported by Ibn Hibban from Aisha radiallahu anha, وَمَنْ أَرْضَ اللَّهَ بِسَخَطٍ مِنَ النَّاسِ radiallahu anhu وَأَرْضَ النَّاسَ عَنْهُ. Whoever pleases Allah, even at the expense of displeasing the people, Allah will be pleased with him, and will make the people pleased with him as well. There is a variant report of this, reported by At-Tirmidhi from Aisha as well, radiallahu anha. The variant report says, من أرضى الله بسخط من الناس رضي الله عنه وكفاه مؤنة الناس ومن أسقط الله برضا من الناس سخط الله عليه ووكله إلى الناس. Whoever pleases Allah, even at the expense of displeasing the people, Allah will be pleased with him, and He will be sufficient for him. كفاه مؤنة الناس. He will not make him reliant, dependent, needy of the people, or dependent on the people. He will be sufficient for him. Allah will be sufficient for him. But whoever displeases Allah to please the people, Allah will be displeased with him. وَوَكَّلَهُ إِلَى النَّاسِ. And Allah will make him in need of the people. Allah will make him dependent on the people. Can you imagine this state of being always needing the people and dependent on the people? That is catastrophic. Because the people will never be sufficient for you. The people will never, not that they cannot, they are not even willing to. Even if they can, but they are not even willing to. And even if they're willing, they can't be there for you all the time, like Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is. So the first thing that, the first parameter that we have to go by is, yes, it is fine for me to seek the people's pleasure or people's acceptance, but am I displeasing Allah in any way? Am I displeasing Allah in any way? And keep in mind that it is not only about competing with the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because sometimes there is no direct conflict. But sometimes it's about distraction from seeking the pleasure of Allah. You're being distracted from the dhikr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the remembrance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, adherence to the way of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You're being distracted. Not that there is a direct conflict, but there is distraction. The pursuit of the people's pleasure is distracting you from doing that which is greater and that which is better. And that we should also be aware of. That we should also be aware of. Oftentimes, you just can't resist. We sometimes find it very difficult for us to do something and not get like an immediate reward, like an immediate sort of reaction to it. Like you give a sadaqah and you want to be recognized, as if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is not sufficient, as if the knowledge of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is not sufficient. You also want the people to know. And if you can resist, telling, this or that, you need somebody to know. You tell your mother, you tell your wife, you tell somebody, you tell your husband, you tell somebody, so that you could get some reward, some immediate reaction. And if that is occupying your thinking, then that is really not appropriate. And that means that you don't really feel that Allah is really sufficient for you. أَلَيْسَ اللَّهُ بِكَافٍ عَبْدًا. Isn't Allah sufficient for His servant? Isn't Allah's knowing of your doing sufficient for you to just keep it hidden, and to save it for the day of judgment and not wait for any immediate reward? And that's what we have to always ask ourselves, because once you're seeking the acceptance of the people or the pleasure of the people will cause us to be occupied, then that is certainly to the detriment of our psyche. The Prophet ﷺ said, as Tirmidhi reports from Ka'b ibn Malik radiallahu anhu, ما ذئبان جائعان أرسلا في غنم بأفسد لهما من حرص المرء على الشرف والمال بدينه. Two hungry wolves will not be more devastating to a flock of sheep than one's eagerness for status and wealth to his deed. The eagerness for status and wealth will be more devastating to your deed than two hungry wolves being released into a flock of sheep. So that is something that we really need to be cognizant of all the time. The other thing is that seeking the pleasure of the people should not really make you stressed out all the time, because that is also another manifestation when seeking the pleasure of the people is unhealthy. In fact, Imam Shafi'i, because it's unattainable. You can't please all the people. It's such an evasive pursuit. Like you walk into a masjid like this, and so someone will like you, and someone else will not like you. If you're always concerned, if you always want everybody to like you, you will not be liked. Even if you come here on the minbar and recite Quran and quote a hadith, you will still not be liked by everybody, because someone will look at how you're acting, how you wave with your hand, how you stand up, your attire. Somebody will like, something about you, and that's just the nature of people. I mean, certainly we should give this up, but you have to deal with the reality. That's just the nature of people. No matter how much neutral you could be, but some people will like you, some people will dislike you. So you just need to give up, being occupied with, who's going to like you and who's not going to like you, and just make sure that Allah likes you. And then, if the people liked you, that's nice. That's nice. That's not bad. That's nice. And then you should be also content with that, because you will say to yourself, I did not really change anything. I focused on the acceptance and the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and then they like me. Maybe it is glad tidings being forwarded to me. Because the Prophet ﷺ said, as Muslim reports from Abi Dharr radiallahu anhu, that when he was asked, إِنَّ الرَّجُلَ يَعْمَلُ الْعَمَلَ مِنَ الْخَيْرِ يَحْمَدُهُ عَلَيْهِ النَّاسِ. A man that would do righteousness and then get praised by the people for this righteousness. The implied question here is that he feels good about it. He did something righteous, and then he was praised by the people. So it is implied in the question, because otherwise, where is the question? So the implied part of the question is, and then he feels good about it. Is there a problem here? And the Prophet ﷺ said, "Tilka ajil bushra al-mu'min." These are glad tidings being forwarded to the believers. It's not bad. But he was not doing it for them. He was doing it for Allah. And then, subsequently, he pleased Allah, and subsequently Allah would put some affection for him on earth. But if you're occupied, then it will be detrimental to your psyche. Imam Shafi'i has these verses of poetry, beautiful verses of poetry, where he says, ضحكت فقالوا ألا تحتشم بكيت فقالوا ألا تبتسم بسمت فقالوا يرائي بها عبست فقالوا بدا ما كتب صمت فقالوا كليل اللسان نطقت فقالوا كثير الكلم بسلت فقالوا لطيش به وما كان مجترئا لو حكم حلمت فقالوا صنيع الجبان ولو كان مقتدرا لانتقم فأدركت أني مهما أرد رضا الناس فلا بد من أن أذم. So he said, ضحكت, I laughed. So they said, why don't you show decency, integrity? And then I cried, and then they said, why don't you smile? Why don't you be positive? Why don't you smile and be positive? And then when I smiled, they said, oh, he's showing off that he's happy. And then when I frowned, they said, now his true nature comes out. And when I stayed silent, صمت فقالوا كليل النساء. When I stayed silent, they said he's inarticulate. نطقت فقالوا كثير الكلم. And once I spoke, they said he's a chatterbox. He speaks too much. بسلت فقالوا لطيش به. I showed bravery, and they said that this is because of his imprudence. وما كان مجترئا لو حكم, and he would have not been this audacious has he been wise. But and then حلمت فقالوا صنيع الجبان. And then when I showed wisdom and prudence and forbearance, they said he's such a coward. ولو كان مقتدرا لانتقم. Had he been capable, he would have avenged himself. And then Imam Shafi'i said, this is the lesson here. فأدركت أني مهما أريد رضا الناس فلا بد من أن أذم. I then figured out, came to the realization that as long as I want the pleasure of the people, or I seek the pleasure of the people, then I must be dispraised. I would be deserving of dispraise, and I would be deserving of distress and anguish. قل قولي هذا وأستغفر الله لي ولكم فاستغفروه. The last part here is, we said that seeking the pleasure of the people should not impair or impede your relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, should not be detrimental to your own psyche, you should not be preoccupied with this because it will destroy you eternally. And it should not either affect your relationship with the people, because the people who seek the pleasure of the people will end up displeasing the people, because you can't please all the people. They'll end up competing for the pleasure of the people, and that will make people displeased with them. Because the pleasure of the people is not like the mercy of Allah, boundless, where we could all compete for the mercy of Allah, and we could all be granted ample mercy from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Mercy of Allah is boundless. The pleasure of Allah is boundless. We could all compete for it, and we could all be granted the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Pleasure of the people, sibling rivalry, we all live it throughout our life. It's not just gender. But sibling love, even between siblings, even between brothers and sisters, they are competing for, the pleasure of their parents. Pleasure of their parents is not boundless. They will favor this over that, they'll give more for this over that, and so on. So the bottom line here is that in order for this to still be within the healthy range, you must love for your brother that which you love for yourself. As the Prophet ﷺ said in the agreed upon hadith, of Anas ibn Malik radiallahu anhu, لا يؤمن أحدكم حتى يحب لأخيه ما يحب لنفسه. None of you will have complete faith until he loves for his brother what he loves for himself. This hadith has been reported by Ahmad with a slight variation, which could also be another statement from the Prophet ﷺ. حتى يحب للناس من الخير ما يحب لنفسه. Until he loves for all the people of khayr that which he loves for himself. Until he loves for the khayr for all the people as much as he likes it for himself. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to be pleased with us. And we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to put affection for us on this earth in the hearts of the believers. And we ask Him to make His pleasure our greatest pursuit, our first pursuit, and to grant us His pleasure. اللهم أرنا الحق حقا وارزقنا اتباعه وأرنا الباطل باطلا وارزقنا اجتنابه. اللهم لا تسلط علينا بذنوبنا ولا يخافك ولا يرحمنا. اللهم إنك عفو تحب العفو فاعف عنا. ربنا آت نفوسنا تقواها وزكها أنت خير من زكاها أنت وليها ومولاها. الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف المرسلين وأقم الصلاة إن الصلاة تنهى عن الفحشاء والمنكر ولذكر الله أكبر وما يعلم الله الصلاة.